Hi, my name is Courtney. This is my cultural plunge presentation for 603. Let me just start by saying that for me, my privilege was that I identify as straight. I don't identify as transgendered. So my gender and my sexual orientation both categorize me as privileged, as well as my socioeconomic status categorize me as privileged. So because of that, I decided to hang out with some LGBTQIA members that are also homeless. So the majority of the people I hung out with identified as gay men, and there was one individual who was transgender. I decided to hang out at the Housing Resource Center, which is a building located downtown in Richmond, Virginia. The Housing Resource Center is a place where anybody can come that is homeless. It's kind of like a hangout spot from 8:30 to like 5 p.m. every day. So one thing that I noticed about the building was that it was sterile in appearance, almost like a hospital. No decorations on the wall. They're painted white. They have white tile and like plastic chairs lining the perimeter of the room, almost like a hospital waiting room. They had a small TV that was mounted to the wall and it was playing like CNN. Then they had a telephone that could be shared for individuals who didn't have access to a phone. So the individuals that I met there, we decided to talk about their current housing situations, what's going on with that, how they ended up homeless, what are the discriminations or hardships that they face with being homeless and identifying as LGBT, as well as what are the limited housing resources. The ones that I met were not employed. Some of them had just gotten out of jail, which brings on a whole host of issues as far as gaining employment. Some of them were on disability, and disability is capped at $794, which is not a reasonable amount of money to rent an apartment in the Richmond, Virginia area. So there was a lot of resources that needed to be improved in order for these people to get housing just financially. But in addition to that, if you're thinking about applying for jobs or applying for apartment complexes, most of the time that's going to require an email address. That's going to require a phone number. That's going to require an address, like a physical address. And if you're homeless with no income, you probably don't have a physical address. You probably don't have a phone. I mean, I know that they have free phones that you can get from the social services office, but a lot of people don't even know about that. So you probably don't have a phone. And if you do have an email address, how are you going to access it? I mean, you can go to the library, but do you even remember the password? So it's, it's not super accessible for people who don't already have this stuff set up. So for the NASW Code of Ethics, I chose importance of human relationships for my topic specifically, because going and speaking to people directly in this situation is super important. Building connections with people, speaking with them about what's going on, getting their take, their viewpoint on what's happening, and even the nitty-gritty specifics of their particular situation. Having all of that information is helpful in advocating for them. It's helpful in connecting them to the correct resources and program and policy planning and administration. All of these things that we're doing to help people, we kind of need those people's input, right? We need to know what they're going through, and building those human relationships is vital in order to do that. So the NASW Code of Ethics. So I chose a few topics that I felt I could relate directly to my project. The first one was boots on the ground. So for me, the importance of social work, meeting clients where they are at, is vital in social work in general, in my opinion. In my topic specifically, going to the Housing Resource Center. Like, that's literally a place set aside in Richmond City for individuals to go who are homeless during the day. So going down there, not expecting them to come into my office and make an appointment at social services or make an appointment with Social Security. I went to them. And I think that that's very important if you actually want to get an accurate idea of what's going on. Because the people that reach out to social services and Social Security, in order to do that, they may have had a host of resources behind them to even get to that point. What about the people that don't have those resources? Those people get left behind. And it's not because they're not trying, but it's because the social workers aren't meeting them where they're at in their life and physically where they're at. The next one I chose was building trust and rapport within the community being served. Before this job, I used to be a mental health skill builder, and they used to hammer to us the importance of building rapport with our clients. And for that reason, I chose a research essay or article done by Barth, and they looked at intensive in-home, which is mental health skill building for children. So intensive in-home pairs a child and a family directly with a skill builder who assists them with addressing their needs and coming up with a co-plan, ISP, and discussing with the parents different coping strategies and mechanisms that they can use to assist the child, and advocating for the child in school, at doctor's appointments, with the parents. That's intensive in-home. She compared those to individuals who were either in like day centers or institutionalized, and she found that those who received intensive in-home were able to have much more successful outcomes than those who were in an institutionalized setting or in a day center type setting. And the reason for that being is the rapport, the ability to work directly with an individual and assist them in their specific needs and advocate for them more adequately, because you know the ins and outs of what's going on, not only with your client, but with your client's family, with school, with a whole host of things, versus a day center or being institutionalized. You've got a lot of people and limited staff, and there's just not that ability to connect with every single person and really advocate for them the way that they need. In this case, I related that to my topic of homelessness and the LGBTQ community, because building that trust is important. Individuals that I met with, some of them had lost faith in social services and social workers because they feel as though it's hard to get in contact with them. A lot of social workers only want to reply via email, they said, and a lot of these people don't have access to email, or they don't understand because maybe reading and writing isn't their strong suit. And so they just find it to be inaccessible. The social worker may not come out to them. Maybe they have to go to the social services building or the social security office, things like this. And it makes it kind of hard for them to properly access those resources. And not only that, but they don't even know their social workers. A lot of the times I ask them, who's your case manager for this? Who are you speaking with? Have you talked to them? And they reply with, I don't even know who my person is. I have SNAP benefits. I have food stamps. I don't know who my caseworker is, though. They haven't talked to me. I reached out and they don't call me back. I don't know her name. And that's kind of unacceptable. If we're supposed to be working with our clients, for our clients to not even know the name of their case manager, of their social worker, is inexcusable. And that rapport is crucial, because when they're stuck and they're in trouble, they need help, they're not going to go to you. They don't even know your name. So how are you supposed to help? The next one I chose was empowering the community. And that is the reason I put the Black Lives Matter picture up here. I think as social workers, it's very important for us to advocate, but to advocate with and not for all the time. And when I say that, I mean, we empower our clients so that they feel they have the ability to go out and speak for themselves and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what life is like for me. This is what needs to be changed. This is something I'd like to see happen. I think that something like this, like a program like this might help. A policy like this may help. You know, as social workers, we can only do so much. But I think that definitely having them speak for themselves and having us on the back burner, or having us in addition, bringing our professionalism and maybe connections that we have and resources that we have, we can work in conjunction to properly address the needs of the community. I chose Vic Goodley, who was looking at Black Lives Matter movement and kind of discussing like the point of Afrocentric social work, right? Black Lives Matter is doing a great job by themselves, but imagine the power that could come if social workers were backing this program. If Black Lives Matter was like a social work-led organization and brought with it this mass amount of people who are being oppressed and are able to speak for themselves, are able to do those protests, are able to walk on Wall Street or walk on the Capitol and make changes and advocate for themselves while having us assisting them in that journey. And I relate this to my topic because, again, working with these homeless individuals, you know, I will probably never know the ins and outs of what they need because I've never been in that situation, but they know what they need. And me being able to sit there and talk to them, I can get a better understanding so that I can advocate for them and speak on their behalf when they need me to. But I can also empower them and say, hey, look, the bus is free right now. I have access to these resources, right? I know this information. The bus is free right now in Richmond. You can probably catch a bus here and go to the social services building right downtown for free. You don't even have to worry about bus tickets. You can get phones at social services. Did you know that? And I can give them these like different resources, and they can go for themselves and advocate and say, hey, look, I need to talk to my case manager. I need a phone. I need this and that. And how are you guys going to help me to do that? So I think that that's super important. I just realized I forgot to mention boots on the ground, the Berger research. So Berger was an LCSW, or is an LCSW, and a Side B. And she looked at substance abuse, between the differences between men and women. And she found that women needed different things than men do. She found that it was kind of overlooked as to what women needed when they were going through substance abuse treatments, and different programs and policies that could be done to assist them with detoxing, or like I said, going through that substance abuse treatment program. How would she have known that had she not had her boots on the ground? Most people will probably not even think that sex or gender identification would have anything to do with substance abuse treatment. Just treat the substance abuse, right? If you're a man or if you're a woman and you're abusing a substance, what's the difference? But if you're on the ground and you listen and you talk to these people and you see firsthand what's going on, then you can better advocate and better come up with policies and just identify needs that maybe people didn't know even existed beforehand. So for my self-awareness paper, I wanted to bring over this concept that I talked about called the veil, which was first introduced by W.E.B. Du Bois. And when Du Bois spoke about it, he primarily was referring to the experience of African Americans versus white individuals. But I really think the veil could be applied to any group that's marginalized versus a group that's the majority or not marginalized or privileged. But one of the experiences I had while doing this project was that there was a lady who I spoke to on my way into the building. She asked me if I had money, said, hey, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. How are you though? Are you okay? Is everything all right? And she stopped and was like shocked that I even acknowledged her existence. And that's what she did. She thanked me for even recognizing that she was talking to me. You can imagine this feeling, this sense of like the veil of feeling like invisible, that people don't even recognize her when she's asking them for money or for assistance. They don't even acknowledge her presence. So I thought that that was a very interesting topic because it doesn't just apply to race. So some biases that I have, I realized sitting there that I had a fear of being singled out. So I went in with my regular clothes, and I feared that maybe that would single me out in terms of, are they going to ask me for money? Are they going to mug me? Are they not going to talk to me because I might look like I don't really belong here? Like, it was all these things that were going through my mind, and those were my own biases that I had, and I shouldn't have. There was also this fear that I had of the unfamiliar, again, with my privilege being that I came from a higher socioeconomic status. I'd never really experienced a conversation or even seen really my first homeless individual until I was probably in high school. And I really didn't have any communication with them until college. So for me, it's still unfamiliar territory. And then lastly, I still have this small belief that maybe they're not trying hard enough. And I know cognitively that that's not really the case in most situations, but there is that little thought in the back of my head that, have you tried hard enough? Have you looked into the research, or have you looked into all the resources that are available to you? And realistically, it's not a matter of trying hard enough, because I didn't try hard enough to get where I got. It was a matter of circumstance. It's not like I came from nothing and worked my way to the top. I was born into this circumstance. And for a lot of them, they were probably also born into the circumstances that they're in. Trying doesn't really equate to, oh, I'm successful in life because I tried, or I'm unsuccessful because I tried. It's not how it works. So these are my references. thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.